Was Destruction All Stars really a masterpiece? Should Stellar Blade have just been called Pretty Good Sword? And is it possible to spell Astro's Playroom without Sam's poor oral? Today we'll attempt to answer some of these questions and more because this is the Hall of Games podcast. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hall of Games podcast, a show for people who play video games and enjoy hearing others talk about them. You can watch the show on YouTube or Spotify, or you can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/samhallofgames and become a member for free, or you can sign up for the Director's Cut tier for just $2.99 a month to get extended version of every episode of the Hall of Games podcast, as well as several other benefits. I'm your host Sam Hall, and today I'm joined by returning guest Mr. Samuel Heaney. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing pretty good, man. On the other side of that heat wave that we've been hit with.
Yeah, it
was pretty rough. I don't do well in warm weather, so glad that it's cooled down a little bit. Busy as always, but again, I was glad that you invited me to come back. I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome, yeah. Glad to have you back, obviously. What are you playing at the moment?
It's going to be one of the same answers as last time, I'm afraid. I can't say a lot.
I suspect.
But the one thing that I can say with my full chest is I am deep in Death Stranding 2. It's consumed, as one might expect, every free second I've had since it came out. And I won't ramble on it because I could very easily, but it is a demonstrable improvement in every way over the first game. I haven't finished it, so I need to see how the story wraps up. I could see myself maybe liking the overall sort of arc of the first game more. But every single thing about this game I just adore. So it was a long wait, but damn, was it worth it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I made the sort of... It was a good decision. I've made the decision to live stream it, like I said. So, yeah, it sucks not being able to just play it all the time and just chill out with it. But I did the first part yesterday. Just got to like the first safe house, like the first room you go into. Yeah, absolutely loving it. Like you say, the visuals are astonishing, especially on PS5 Pro. It's the first sort of new game I've played on the Pro, so I'm absolutely loving that. Right, so today, everybody, we are ranking every game from PlayStation Studios since the launch of the PS5. Before we start, there are a few games on here you'll notice that are only published and not developed by PlayStation Studios, but I've included them anyway because it's my podcast. I don't know, So yeah, the idea of this, I guess, if we've got any listeners that sort of have, maybe they've bought a PS5, recently got a PS5, and they want to know like the best that PlayStation has to offer, at least in our opinion, we thought this would be a good list for people to have. So yeah, we'll probably disagree on lots of these, but I'm sure it'll be in a jovial sense. And here we have our tier list. As you can see, I've labelled them S tier, A plus tier, A minus, B, and F. So I guess let's start with where it all started with the PS5, Astro's Playroom. Anything to say about Astro's Playroom, Sam?
Plenty to say. I would say it is very unlike Sony or modern Sony, should I say, to give away a new product for free. And I think, we heard prior to launch about Playroom being bundled in with every PS5. It's automatically installed. So as soon as you plug in and power up your PS5, you can jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
I think people probably had, including myself, if I gaze back, relatively low expectations of it being a sort of tech demo. And for all intents and purposes, that is what Playroom is. But I think that when we got around to playing it, it was actually far more fully formed an experience than we might have predicted.
Mm.
To the point where you could have easily have seen them charging money for this. And I continue to be surprised that they didn't, considering the comparative lack of big first-party titles on day one. But no, I love Playroom. It obviously sort of was the catalyst that kicked off the Astrobot IP properly. I'm a big defender of Rescue Mission on VR. I think that's one of the best VR games, period. But obviously that is quite niche, being a VR game. So this being a game that not necessarily every PS5 owner will play, but will at least see on the dashboard and have a little bit of exposure to. I think that set up the Astrobot IP for a lot of success, and we'll talk about Astrobot later on.
Yes.
So I think for me, I would rank it pretty high. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I absolutely love Astro's Playroom. I think it was such a smart move making it free and pre-installed, like you say. Not to knock on Nintendo, but comparing it to maybe a tech demo that people have seen on the Nintendo store, the Welcome Tour. When you compare them as games, as experiences, and then also compare the price and the fact that Welcome Tour has a price, and Astro's Playroom doesn't, it's sort of a no-brainer. I love Astro's Playroom. I would also rank it. I think I'd rank it quite high as well. Yeah. What were you thinking, tier wise?
So this is where you kind of have to emotionally detach, right?
Yeah.
Where, as a lover of a lot of PlayStation IP,
Hmm.
and Astrobot especially considering how it celebrates PlayStation's lineage, I think that there is a instinct for me where I don't really have any complaints about Playroom.
Mm.
So my instinct would be to go near the top, but I think objectively, the length is one thing that could feasibly hold it back from being like the ultimate recommendation.
Mm.
But I think that because it's free and you can just dive in and have fun and it's not a massive time sink, I would probably put it. I may be jumping the shark slightly.
Hmm.
I would imagine this is probably, for me at least, near the upper echelon of A plus.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I hear that.
So
I
that's
I
where I'd say it.
I sort of mirror your thoughts exactly. Yeah. The fact that with it being free sort of makes it harder to put a rank on it compared to everything else. I'm gonna. I would say. I would say low end of A plus
Okay.
for that reason. So I guess for now we can at least put it in A plus.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's also, we also have to protect the sanctity of S tier. We can't just
Yes.
lump tons of stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm
So
with you. Yeah. Next up is Demon Souls. What are you got to say
yeah,
about Demon Souls, Sam?
I mean, I think by a large margin, the best of the launch titles. Blue Point going strength to strength. They've obviously had a lot of woes recently, Blue Point having been put on a live service, which was dumb, and that being cancelled.
Yeah.
But you have to think, like, they went from Shadow of the Colossus in 2018 to this at launch in 2020. So they did this game in 2 years, which is insane, really. even just for a remake, even if you've got the building blocks, 2 years to turn something of this quality around, that still rivals, at least fidelity wise, games coming out today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big Soulsborne guy as well, so I think that gives it a lot of points. It's the de facto way to play Demon Souls now. There may be some purists that disagree with me there, but yeah, I think I think it's probably still A plus for me, above Playroom.
Yeah.
But it is for me very close to S tier. I think if Blue Point, it's not going to happen, Sam. But if Blue Point did do a Bloodborne,
Yeah.
that's an S tier.
Yeah.
But Demon Souls is a little bit janky still. From Software finding their feet, and they preserve the jank here, which makes it a little bit rough, but still a good recommendation regardless.
I mirror your thoughts, surprisingly. Uh, Demon Souls was the first physical PS5 game I had, and I guess it was the first PS5 exclusive, next gen exclusive that I played. And I believe I'd never played a Souls game until that.
Oh,
So that being my first Souls game was actually a crazy experience. But a great one because, like you say, fidelity wise, it knocks pretty much everything out the park. It still looks insane, and yeah, it was interesting experiencing that jank, but in like a modern presentation.
yeah.
But I did love it. I've still not finished it. It's a hard game.
No judgment.
Yeah, I need to at some point finish it. But I'm also with you. I would want to give it S, but because it's not an original game, I'm gonna put it in A plus as well. So
Nice.
this is going well so far. I'm sure this is how it's gonna
It's
stay.
all going to fall apart soon.
Yeah. Next up, Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Have you played Sackboy: A Big Adventure, Sam?
I have. Yes. Not at launch, but not long after. This may be a hot take. I'm just going to say it straight off the bat. I think this is B.
Okay.
By no means is it a bad game. I just think that in a world where Astro exists, it's very difficult for Sackboy to compete in the cute platformer space. And as much as I love Little Big Planet persisting some kind of way, and there was some really inventive stuff in this game. I don't know whether you played it.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, like the musical levels where everything's on beat. It's almost like Hi-Fi Rush, really, before Hi-Fi Rush
Yeah.
happened. That's really cool, but I don't know that the game held up for the entire runtime. So I think looking at the list of what we've got, if I had to rank all of them together, this one does trickle down quite far, but I don't think it's bottom of the barrel, so to speak. So a good game, but a B. It's an okay.
Yep, I completely agree. B. Yeah, it must have been the second. I guess I played that after Demon Souls. I was probably playing them both at the same time, to be honest. Very different games, but I liked Sackboy: Big Adventure, but my problem with it was that the the platforming itself wasn't really the part of Little Big Planet for me that I thought was the most special. Like
Yeah.
Little Big Planet's like creative mode. It's hard even calling it a mode considering that's pretty much the whole game. But the being able to like create your own levels with your friends, that was a big part of why I loved Little Big Planet, and I think a lot of people did. So as fun as the platforming levels in Sackboy were, I agree that they weren't special like Astrobot at least felt. But yeah, the music levels were fun. So I'm with you. Bang on B. Next up, we have Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, first off, as
Mm.
you know, this was a PS4 game as well as a PS5 game. um, but that being said, it did come out on the launch day of the PS5, at least in America. I think it was a week later in the UK. Was that right?
Mm. I think so.
Yeah, it was something like that. But I loved Miles Morales, especially as like I think it was the first game I booted up on PS5, at least after Astro's Playroom, because that was already installed. I think Miles Morales was the first one I booted up on PS5 because I was already playing it on PS4 and I wanted to see the sort of
Right.
differences and yeah, how much of a different experience it would be. And yeah, I loved Miles Morales. How did you feel about it?
Um, this is interesting. I like it. Um, I think that it made a lot of sense, and it's really cool that they gave Miles his own game.
Mhm.
I have always been a little bit torn on when I say torn on the length, I don't mean that I'm upset that it's not a full length game.
Mhm.
I feel maybe just that if it had an extra hour or two,
Mm.
the latter half of the game wouldn't feel quite as rushed as it feels to me.
Yeah.
Things ratchet up very, very quickly, which is okay. Like it's fine,
Mm.
but if there was just a little bit more breathing room, but I guess the other side of that is that the reduced runtime means that they cut a lot of the chaff that
Mm.
was on Spider-Man 1.
Yeah.
And it's a bit more of a refined game because of that.
Mhm.
So I think it's good. It was obviously a very, very smart move to have at launch ish. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it would probably be my least favorite of the three Spider-Man games.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's not saying that there's a massive like delta between them,
Yeah. No.
but I think I just prefer Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2
Mm.
over Miles in pretty much every way.
Mm.
It's not one that I really see myself ever going back to, which is,
Okay.
yeah.
That's interesting hearing you say that. I think I don't know what it was for me when I remember playing it. And maybe it was because I like started on the PS4 and then moved to the PS5 and maybe I had like a bit of a gap in between them.
Mm,
The pacing didn't feel like off to me and also like the length also in my memory isn't like really short. I know it is short, a shorter
sure.
game. And like I said, with it just being Miles and there's no like Mary Jane missions. Like I said, there's a lot of chaff cut out. So I remember it being like this really slick campaign, which I just loved it, and I really loved the swing tricks, the introduction of the swing tricks, and with it being
Mm.
Miles as well, I thought was genius, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I do hear everything you say.
Where would you place it?
On this. First off, I'd probably say it was my favorite of the three
Oh,
Spider-Man games.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I I mean, we'll talk about Spider-Man 2 later, but yeah, I would say it's my favorite of the three, and I whether I'd go back to it or not is a different question. But as for
Mm.
this list, I would put it I'd put it A plus.
I I'm not far off of you.
Mhm.
I would probably put it A,
Mm.
but I'm willing for the at least for the time being until we do maybe a reshuffle
Do have a reshuffle
to
later.
slot it in A plus. I would personally say
Hmm.
it's under Playroom,
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I
but
mean, yeah, if you say you'd have it in A and I'd go A plus, will compromise and put it at the last of A plus.
what a nice guy.
How does that sound?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's okay. Next up, an interesting one. Destruction All Stars. Sam, did you play Destruction All Stars? First of all, have you played all of the games on this list? Just very
I
quickly.
have, yes.
Cool. Destruction All Stars. Tell me.
Unfortunately, I have played Destruction All Stars. Yes. um, yeah, you know, like I could be nice, but I just don't have many nice things to say about
Yeah.
it. And again, it's not to say that it's a bad game. It's just like I look at the what we've assigned so far and what the rest of the list is. I think this is by a wide margin the most mediocre.
Hmm.
So, and also it had the debacle, like it was going to be a full price $70 thing, and then they reneged on that like a month before the PS5 came out and put it as a PS Plus title.
Yeah.
I just like it's okay, I guess, but I played it for maybe like 3 hours. And I was like, yep, I've had my fill. I've seen pretty much everything this game has.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't survive very long as a sort of live servicey ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Sort of came and went. So that's, I'm sorry, but to me, it's a C.
A C. Well, we don't have a C on this list. You can't say it properly, but it's an F.
I'm you know, I'm trying to be nice. Can we add one in? No, yeah, put it in F.
We can change F to C if you
No,
would prefer that.
We're keeping it as F.
We're
being
keeping
harsh.
it. Yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm putting
I'm with you, by the way. I played this game probably more than most people. I feel like I played around 20 hours of this game. Like I played this quite a lot, at least at launch. And I tried to get like my friends to play it, and no one would really play it. And I can't say I blame them. I think I was just I can't really defend my position here because I know it's I know it wasn't great. I was so happy to have like a next gen like driving racing game. It's not racing, but driving game. And I remember thinking the visuals were cool and like there's like lots of particle physics and stuff. But yeah, no doubt it wasn't fun. It got boring very quickly. So
it's perplexing to me as well that it wasn't just like a Twisted Metal or something.
yeah, because I think that's what some people sort of expected from it, even like from the trailers. People are like, oh, okay, this is gonna be like Twisted Metal, and it just didn't live up to that. We'll put it in F. Sorry, Destruction All Stars. Next up, we have Returnal. I already know how you feel about this game, but please tell us.
I mean, you know, plug the previous episode.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking
Yes,
about.
go watch episode 2.
Yeah, I think Returnal is the best game of this generation. So yeah, I don't have enough nice things to say about Housemarque in general. And that shines through with Returnal more so than any of their other previous games. So Returnal is probably the easiest S I'm going to give. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, we're going to disagree here.
No.
A bit of a gap. I mean, I'm not putting in like F. I'm not a fool. I played a fair amount of Returnal. Really liked it. I said this in the previous episode as well. Lots of nitpicks with like not lots of nitpicks. I have nitpicks with the checkpointing system. It just really being that it's too harsh for me. So I would, but saying that, I love the gameplay. I think it's like top tier gameplay. It also looks incredible, and it looked incredible on the launch PS5 as well. I have also re-downloaded it on the PS5 Pro, mainly to try and finish it, but also I want to see the sort of if there's any. Is it PS5 Pro enhanced?
They did put out a patch a month and a half ago ish, something like that.
Interesting.
Boosted the fidelity.
How good is it?
Yeah, I mean it looks great. I think it's if I'm being fair, it's probably one of the harder ones to distinguish just because the graphical tuning that they did at launch was already
You're right.
so great,
Yeah.
but there's a lot more. If you know and you pay attention, the particle effects are far more crisp and sharp.
Mm,
And there's a lot of them in Returnal. So
yeah, there are. Okay, cool. I'm excited to play that, to be honest. But yeah, again, I would put it in A minus, but you want to put it in S. So we're gonna have to split it down the middle and put it in A plus. The question
that's
is,
okay.
where are we putting it in A plus? You could go slap bang in the middle between Demon Souls and Astro's Playroom. Obviously, you'd put it above Demon Souls.
I would put it at the top of A plus.
And yeah, I I kind of agree because it's such a sort of original idea.
Hmm.
So I'm happy to put it there for now.
Okay.
We'll see what the reshuffle
Okay.
does later. Um, okay, next up, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Tell us about Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. I mean, again, another thing I talked about on
Mm,
our episodes. I adore Ratchet and Clank. It's basically the thing that really, I think, fully got me in on the PS2, and I sort of stuck with it ever since. I think, on the whole, the mainline games have just kept getting better. So Rift Apart, I think, is very strong. I will argue, though, that with hindsight, generic is the wrong word because it's not,
mm,
but I think it plays it safe is the correct way to spin it, where there's some really interesting mechanics and they do some interesting story things, but it feels a bit more. They've Pixar'd Ratchet and Clank with this game, where it feels way more family friendly and PG than it has before. That's not to say again that Ratchet and Clank is some gritty thing that's super
mm,
rude, but compared to the PS2 and PS3 days, I think they've made it a bit more universal,
mm.
which isn't inherently a bad thing, but it does lose a little bit of that sheen that I really appreciate the series for.
Yeah.
But the portal tech, obviously,
Mm,
in Rift Apart has become, world renowned really at this point.
mm.
And obviously, Insomniac has implemented it in other titles since. I think, I think I would put this A minus, which sounds harsh when I say it. I think I could make an argument for it to be on the lower end of A plus,
Mm.
but I think that it is in every way outside of visuals
Yeah.
outclassed by other Ratchet and Clank games.
Mm. Okay, that's interesting. I can't remember if I said this on the previous episode or not, but I must have done. I've not really played. I've not played any of the Ratchet and Clanks before the 2016
Hmm.
reboot, I guess. And I probably played about 5 hours of the 2016 reboot, and then my game file got corrupted. Uh,
Mm.
and like I did enjoy it, but I wasn't gonna replay that first five
Sure.
hours. So when I played Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, it was like it was like the first like proper experience of Ratchet and Clank that I'd had, really.
Mm.
Especially with it being like brand new when I played it. Again, another one I've not finished, I'm afraid. So I have got it re-downloaded on the PS5 Pro, and I'm ready to finish it. So I will take your word as more gospel than mine. But I'm kind of with you that like I hear what you say about it being more like family friendly, and I do think that's a conscious effort of PlayStation to do that. And yeah, the visuals in it are incredible. But yeah, gameplay wise, it did, other than the Portal stuff, it didn't feel like a huge evolution of what I'd seen in the first 5 hours of the 2016 game.
Yeah.
But again, I've not finished it, so I'm kind of with you with A minus.
Lovely.
Let's go with that. Sorted. Is that PS5 Pro enhanced as well?
Um, I haven't gone back to it. I feel like it will be though,
Yeah,
because
probably.
Insomniac I think have done all of their games
That makes
with the Pro
sense.
patch. So
I would expect most of PS Studios ones to be actually thinking about it.
yeah, for the first party studios ones at
Yeah.
the very least. Published is a little bit sketchy because I know like Silent Hill 2 is still waiting on one, but
Okay.
everything else I think you're good.
Yeah. Next up we have Horizon Forbidden West. I'm going to start off with this one just by saying I love the Horizon series and specifically love Horizon Forbidden West. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think that the swings it takes in terms of story in the second game are like I've heard people say it's like a night and day difference with the first game. I think it's like slap bang a perfect decision for them to make for the second game, and you'll know what I'm
Rich.
talking about. And I wouldn't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it. But I love the game. I also think it's the best. It was when it came out the best looking game on PS5. I like you could say Demon Souls has more graphical fidelity,
Hmm.
but with like the art style of Forbidden West, just the colors and everything, absolutely loved it. So yeah, I'd probably go S tier. Anyway, over to you.
Yeah, I'm very glad you said that. I am a staunch Horizon defender. I get that with Herman Hulst leading PlayStation Studios, there's the conspiracies of bias towards the IP. I think that may be true to some extent. Naturally, like you're going to want your baby to succeed,
Mm-hmm.
but even if that was fully true, and Herman is like pushing Horizon super hard, doesn't change the fact that Zero Dawn and especially Forbidden West are truly fantastic games that do not get the respect they deserve in
No.
pretty much any area, whether it is visual fidelity. I see people bringing up lots of different games, going like, "This is the most gorgeous game."
Mm.
You haven't played Forbidden West,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not only that, but like I think the gameplay is severely underrated.
Mm.
You know, people say, "Oh, you're just shooting bows and arrows." I'm like, "Well, clearly you haven't played Forbidden West then,
Yeah.
or even Zero Dawn for that matter,
Yeah.
or you're not playing it correctly." You know, I'm not trying to gatekeep, but you're not using the tools in your arsenal if you're just firing a bow. I think the story as well, for like you said, as outlandish as Forbidden West gets in terms of ramping up from Zero
Mm-hmm.
Dawn. If you Horizon has some of the best game lore I've ever
Oh,
seen.
it does. Yeah.
Like if you really dig into it and you listen to the audio logs and you pay attention to the environmental storytelling, it's some of like the dopest stuff I've ever seen. And that is I think the thing that gets most overlooked with Horizon,
Mm-hmm.
not just the story, but the overarching stuff of the world. They're like, "Oh, cool, robot dinosaurs." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but if you
Yeah.
know why they're there, it makes it 10 times cooler."
Mm-hmm.
Um, like why are there all of these dead, defunct like military robots out in fields? I'm like, well, it's not just set dressing. Like a war was happening. Anyway, not to spoil too much, but I
Yeah.
think
That's good.
I think Forbidden West is, obviously I stand on my square that Returnal trumps it,
Oh yeah.
but Gorilla is one of the best developers in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and Decima is the best engine,
Yeah.
and obviously Death Stranding 2 is kind of proving that point as well.
Yes, it is.
So I would agree with you that it's S. And I
Oh,
think
wicked.
not that it's technically included here, but Burning Shores, the DLC,
Oh yeah. We can include that with it.
wrap it in with Forbidden West.
Yeah.
I didn't love all of the DLC,
Mm-hmm.
but without spoilers, the final set piece of that DLC
Oh
is
yeah.
potentially the single most impressive thing I've literally ever seen in a game ever.
Yeah.
So do yourself a service, people listening, if you haven't, play Horizon, both
Yes.
games, but specifically Forbidden West.
And play the DLC because I do feel like not everyone played that DLC and they are
Yeah,
missing out because yeah, that final set piece, incredible,
Jesus.
incredible stuff. And wackiness. I was really happy when they announced the DLC because
Hmm.
I wouldn't want to spoil too much. There's a particular mechanic in that game that you get towards the end of the story,
Yep.
which is great. And I had done that thing which I do in quite a lot of games where I get to right towards the end of the story. Then I go out and do all the side missions, and then I continue, then I continue the story. And then when I got that mechanic, I had nothing left to do in the game.
Hmm.
So yeah, I. But that being said, I do think there's a correct way to play Horizon. Maybe both games, but particularly Forbidden West. Because the first time I played it, like I said, I sort of I didn't mainline the story. I did a few. I would do a few main missions, go off and do few side missions, and it was so immersive because those side stories are so interwoven with the main campaign in a way that is obviously present in other open world games, but I felt it more in this one than any of those. Yeah, so I really would recommend people don't mainline the story, but also leave stuff to do towards the end.
Yeah.
Incredible game. I'm going S. People are gonna disagree with that because I feel like most people would put it A minus or A
Yep.
plus at least. Next up we have Gran Turismo 7. First off, I'll just say not played it, so I can't really speak much on it.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say. I'm not a racing sim or driving guy in general. I very, very rarely dabble with
Mhm.
this genre. The one thing that tipped me over, I didn't play it at launch, but the thing that tipped me over is when they added the VR support
Oh yeah.
with VR2. I'm sort of looking for experiences, and Gran Turismo 7 VR is lauded as one of the best experiences you can have with the headset. So I
Mhm.
was like, I'm an avid headset user. I play VR quite frequently, try it out, and it is incredibly impressive. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm not a massive fan. I think objectively, quality wise, it's probably A plus. But I think for me, I would put it bottom of A minus.
Yeah. I mean, again, not played it, but as someone who I like generally I enjoy like racing games. Like I said, I played Destruction All Stars for 20 hours or whatever. Obviously very different games, but like
Sure.
I love driving cars in video games. So really Gran Turismo sort of feels like a game I would like. From the little I've played of Forza Horizon, I I would enjoy that way more than the game that GT7 is. So again, can't really speak to the quality, but as for my enjoyment, I would put it I'd put it B. But yeah, if you're saying, would you say A minus? Did you say?
I guess I guess if I'm considering would I prefer to play Sackboy or Gran Turismo,
Yeah.
I would you know, I this sounds weird. I probably would choose Gran Turismo,
Okay.
but I would probably by that logic bump Gran Turismo to B but
Mm,
above Sackboy.
okay. Because you wouldn't put it anywhere near Rift Apart, I assume. Yeah. I think we'll put it in B for now, uh, above Sackboy, and see where we are
Okay.
after we finish
Okay.
the first draft. I did download what's that free game called? My First Gran Turismo.
Yeah, yeah.
I downloaded that and played it earlier I've just played it a little bit, like 15 minutes probably. just to see if like there's something there, and I don't think there is for me personally. Okay, next up we have not a remaster, so I've included it for anyone shouting at the screen. The Last of Us Part 1, the remake.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to talk much about Last of Us, I
No.
don't think. I This might be contentious. I would put this at A plus.
Okay.
I think Last of Us is obviously an S tier game, but I think that part one, specifically this release,
Yeah.
does make it technically the definitive way to experience the game now on modern hardware, but it didn't really introduce anything new to the equation. And that's not necessarily deducing points from it because of that.
Yeah.
But I think that what would have made this really goated S tier as like a re-release is if there was like something like the roguelike mode that they did for the part 2 remaster. I think that's what would have tipped it over the edge for me personally.
Yeah. I kind of agree. Like you say, obviously Last of Us Part 1 at least incredible game, and alone it would be an S tier. But yeah, with it being a re-release or a remake, as good as it was as a remake, because it is everything's remade completely from the ground up. And you can tell. I've seen. I remember when it came out, so many people were talking about how they couldn't tell which one was the remake and which was the
Yeah,
original,
nonsense.
which
Yeah,
is so nonsensical. Um, it's absolutely a great remake, an incredible remake. But yeah, you're right. There's nothing particularly new to that experience. I was glad that they bundled in the Left Behind DLC as well, because
sure.
that's an integral part of that story, really. But yeah, I do hear you. A plus, because I'd almost argue it would even belong in A minus, because like if with this list being, you've just got a PS5, you want to experience the best that PS5 has to offer. Yes, Last of Us Part 1 remake is probably one of the best things the PS5 has to offer, but it's not like it doesn't feel like a next gen experience in every way, like with gameplay
It's true.
and everything. But but it is The Last of Us. Tell you what, we'll put it.
I
Well,
think you might be right.
I don't
I
know
think you.
though.
I think top of A minus probably is correct for the
Yeah,
list we're actually trying to assemble.
yeah, I agree. It just feels wrong
It
seeing
feels
that
wrong.
there.
I'm with you.
Feels so wrong. But okay, we'll do it for now.
Still a go a game, guys. Don't hate us.
Please don't hate us, everyone. Okay, next up we have God of War Ragnarok. Again, another game that was released on PS4, but it did come out after the PS5 was launched. So, want to talk about God of War, Sam? Or Ragnarok in particular?
It kind of feels like another Last of Us situation where there isn't really much to say because it's
Yeah.
obviously a goat. I am of the opinion, which seems to be a bit more fringe nowadays. I do think Ragnarok is better than 2018. I prefer the story in Ragnarok. And that's obviously, I think, because 2018 is raised on this pedestal as like defining the generation, rightly so. But yeah, I think Ragnarok is fantastic as a level up to the first game in the same way that Forbidden West was to Zero Dawn. I think Zero Dawn probably is a better sequel to Forbidden West is a better sequel to Zero Dawn than Ragnarok is to 2018, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But how they navigated concluding the Norse era of God of War. It felt like a lot, and it was a lot to handle, but I think Santa Monica knocked it out of the park. And I will, same way that we roped in Burning Shores, I'll rope in Valhalla with this. And I think that the character development that they continue to do for Kratos is some of the most compelling stuff character wise that I've seen. And it's crazy to say again that like how emotionally attached I am to a character like Kratos. Like you asked me that 15 years ago and I would have called you utterly insane.
Yeah.
But I think it's S as a game and as something as we're building the list of what I would recommend people to play on PS5.
I really love the story in God of War Ragnarok. I love how it comes full circle with like Atreus teaching his dad a lot of stuff in that. I think that's great. I will also say I never really played the older God of War games. 2018 was my first introduction to God of War, and again loved it. And I do also think the first game is better than Ragnarok, at least in just story. I think gameplay alone is definitely better in Ragnarok. There's no doubt about that. But in story, I love the story of the first game. I think it's really sort of like tight and intimate, where Ragnarok sort of feels more. You're getting a lot of different perspectives in that game, but I did really enjoy the story of Ragnarok. I think I also though before it released, I expected Ragnarok because we knew it was the last game in the Norse series, I guess. We knew it was going to be that. So when going into it, I was expecting Ragnarok to be more of an actual ending to the Norse mythos and
Sure.
bridging the gap into whatever comes next. And maybe we'll see that with, there's rumors of a smaller spin off coming at some point, but maybe we'll see that instead there. But I think, yeah, I think that's what I expected with God of War Ragnarok and why I wasn't 10 out of 10 as much as I was for God of War
Sure.
2018. But that being said, it is an absolute banger. So I would put it in A plus. I would put it top of A plus, like, but you would put it S. So I think most people would also agree it belongs in S.
You're the you make the
I am.
executive
I do have
decision.
to make the executive decision. I'm afraid.
I'll trust you. I'll
I
close my eyes.
Yeah. You close your eyes. I've put it in S. I've put it bottom
It's
of S.
done.
Bottom of S for now. Below Forbidden
Okay.
West. No doubt in my mind, for me, it's below Forbidden West.
Yeah, I agree.
Below Forbidden West. I also feels right going there because for me it beats everything in A plus still. Yeah, we'll see where it ends up after the reshuffle.
Indeed.
Next up we have Spider-Man 2. Tell us your thoughts on Spider-Man 2, Sam.
I mean, I have a bias. I have a bias towards Insomniac. I'm a very big Marvel fan. So I naturally, and also just because it's, I think, a very good game, will rate this highly. I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like Ratchet and Clank, where the gameplay is improved and the visuals are obviously greatly increased as well. But I think that the story of one is a lot better, better paced. I think a bit more cohesive, ties threads together better. Spider-Man 2 leaves, without obviously spoiling anything, a lot of things open.
Yeah.
Without really proper conclusions. And I think the amount that it did that doesn't quite sit right with me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm all in. I've got the collector's edition. I've got the Venom statue over there.
16 inches of venom.
Yeah, he's a big boy. Uh, and I think Venom was fantastic in the game. Rest in peace, Tony Todd, of course.
Oh man, got in.
I think for me, if I had to place it somewhere, it would probably be upper end of A plus, maybe above Demon Souls.
Yeah. I'm thinking similar actually. So I said before, and I stand by, I think I prefer Miles Morales to Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2. I sort of go back and forth with Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man 2 is a weird one for me to talk about because I sort of think in almost every way it's better than Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. But when they announced Spider-Man 2 and sort of in the lead up to it, I was expecting more of an evolution of the world, which I didn't feel like it had. It expanded the map, yes, but the world and the stuff you could do in that world was not expanded at all. I would still put it in A plus after all that, because it was the first thing I downloaded on the PS5 Pro, because I knew that has a really good enhanced mode, and I could swing around in that city for hours on end.
Yeah.
So if we're like recommending things for people to play, it would be up there. But where would I put it? You'd say above Demon Souls, below Returnal.
I think I would place it there in my head from my taste because Spider-Man 2 is an easier recommend to more people than Demon Souls is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you actually. I'll put it there. And I'm quite happy with it there. That does make sense for that game.
Okay.
Yeah. After
You're
all
gracious.
Next up we have Helldivers 2. Tell us about Helldivers 2, Sam.
It's an S. I will stand on it. It's an S.
Love that.
I think that not only is it just a fantastic game, I think it is one of the best multiplayer games in the past decade, at the very least. I think the sustained large player count is testament to that. I think that there's been a few stumbling blocks outside of the game, surrounding like PSN logins and being able to buy it on Steam in certain countries and things like that.
Yeah.
But the game itself is just fantastic. I think I'm an outlier opinion. I think the solo experience is still pretty good.
Really?
Obviously, as with any multiplayer game, it's best when you're with friends or with a squad. But I think that you can fine tune the difficulty to make it so that you're not going to struggle at all if you want to just solo matchmake at all. It'd be fine. I've done a lot of that. And yeah, I think that it's also something that bumps it up for me is the fact that just nobody was expecting anything from it.
No, they really weren't.
And it just came out of nowhere. And I liked the first Helldivers back in the day. Like I thought it was fine. But this is obviously such a clear level up. And I think that the seal of approval from me is that despite how busy I am and that I want to be in Death Stranding 2 currently, since Helldivers 2 has come out, there's always a part of my brain where it thinks I kind of just want to go back into Helldivers 2 for a little bit though. And for a multiplayer game to do that for me is almost impossible. So I think it's an S. I think it's the best multiplayer game you can play on PS5.
Wow. Those are big words. I love your enthusiasm, and you've kind of convinced me that it should be an S. A little bit back, like just I guess general background. I'd never played Helldivers 1. Helldivers 2 I picked up when I heard everyone going crazy about it. And the fact that it was only £30.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell of a selling point. I also luckily had a squad, at least of 3 of us at the time, which yeah, like you say, is the best place, is the best way to play that. I have tried it solo occasionally, and for me, I do not enjoy that experience. It's not necessarily the difficulty. Like it is harder solo, no doubt,
Sure,
although
yeah.
it does scale. I just think I just think it's the most fun in Helldivers is when you're shooting your friends by accident,
Yeah.
or like dropping a resupply pack on them. But I do love the game, and I kind of want to play it again. Maybe we should team up and play that game at some point,
Oh.
actually. So you're saying S, and I don't disagree really. I would, I'm gonna put it bottom of S.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That is where I would put it
That's
as
where
well.
you'd put it, yeah. And like I do, it is a great multiplayer game, and it is some of the most fun I've had in a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
I've also not been back to it in a while. I've not fought against the what they called the Illuminate.
Hmm.
I've not fought them yet, so I'm interested to see what they're like, and I'm
Pretty
interested
crazy.
to see what other changes, like small changes, they've made as well.
Yeah.
So I'll be jumping on that at some point. Next up, we have Rise of the Ronin. I've not played this game, so please please tell us about Rise of the Ronin.
It looked really promising
Mm.
before it released. Coming from Team Ninja. I am gonna just cut to the chase. I think it's bottom of B.
Okay.
I think it's fun, like it's fine, but it's by far the weakest Team Ninja game in a long time.
Mm.
Visually, I think it got a lot of flack when it released because it doesn't look that great graphically.
Yeah.
It plays very well, but it's a very uninspired open world. You've basically seen all of it before, and it is completely eclipsed by Neo. Like I would have preferred. Obviously, we're getting
Mm.
Neo 3 now, but I would have preferred them to just cut to the chase and go straight to Neo 3.
Yeah.
I feel like this game feels like a waste of time, not just from playing it, but from them spending
Making
the
it.
time to make it. So that sounds like an F, but I think bottom of B is where it belongs.
Yeah. I mean I've not played it, so I can't really say if I agree or disagree. I think from what I've seen of it, I would say similarly. Bottom of B. Let's whack it there.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Stellar Blade. Tell us about Stellar Blade, Sam.
Um, Another sort of surprise hit out of nowhere.
Mm.
Obviously, did very well with certain sections of the gaming community for
Yes.
not safe for work reasons, we shall
Yeah.
say. Get your minds out of the gutter, people. But that aside, I think Stellar Blade is a fantastic game. I think for what is essentially their first time developer, they've done mobile stuff before, but for a first like AAA smash at something, it's similar to sort of Lies of P in that regard, where there's this developer coming out of Asia that is just completely under the radar,
Mm.
and they make one of the best sort of, not that Stellar Blade is a Souls-like game by any means, but it has a lot of that DNA in it. Yeah, I think it was a very savvy move by Sony to snap that up very early on. I think it landed. I think it did everything it needed to do. It had the presentation, the visuals, the soundtrack, the gameplay, art direction, all of it. It's not S,
Mm.
but I think it sits very comfortably in the middle of A plus.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I've not actually played Stellar Blade, and I do really want to. I think like a lot of people, I was put off by at least the presentation of it in in its reveal trailer, and I was like, because I was like, oh, this seems kind of cool, and then Yeah, I think there's obviously an egregious there's an egregious thing there, but yeah, when it came out and I heard people sing its praises, I was really intrigued, and I still really want to play it. I think I'm gonna play the Neo games first because I've still not played those, and obviously there's that DLC as well. But okay, I hear you. Middle of A plus. I
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, I again I've not played it, so I'm sort of gonna have to take your word for it. Would you go above Demon Souls or below Demon Souls?
I think above,
Mm.
solely for the fact that it's sort of something new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll whack it in A plus then. Next up, we have. Oh God. We have Concord. Did you? Well, you said you played all of them. I assume you played Concord as well
I did.
when you
Physical
could.
copy over there. I've
Oh
got it.
wow.
Got a refund, but I got to keep the physical copy. So that's a bit of a collector's item now, I think.
Yeah, it's a moment in
Um,
history. This one.
yeah, biggest live service collapse in history. Well done, Sony. Well done.
Yeah.
Same year that they had Helldivers 2 as well. You know, highs and lows, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
Uh, you might think this is the easiest F to give, but it is not, in my opinion. I think this is the new bottom of B,
Yeah.
because me and Kev from Save the Game Media,
Mm.
and a number of other people actually really unironically liked Concord.
Mm.
It had its issues, undoubtedly. Character design was pretty whack.
Yeah.
Character movement speed was pretty poor, and map design of the maps that they released was serviceable, but not super compelling. But it was fun to play, man. Like it
Mm.
was fun. The gunplay was great. The abilities were interesting, and diverse compared to what you see in most FPSs nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. Like we genuinely, unironically, were really sad when it got pulled.
Wow.
So I think it gets too much hate. I mean,
Mm.
obviously, it gets clowned on a lot for obvious reasons, but in terms of a game, I can't bring myself to put it in F. I mean, technically, you can't play it right now.
Yeah.
So in terms of recommending it, I
That's a
guess it
good point.
has to go in F
Yeah.
below everything else.
Oh dear.
But in my heart, it's B. So I think realistically, we do have to put it in F because we can't recommend it because nobody can play it.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that. Because I was
But
with you that I mean I actually didn't play it. I wanted to. I think I was away during its like because it had a did it have like an early access or a
it
beta
did, yeah,
thing?
beta, yeah.
A beta, yeah. I was gonna play that and I was away for it and I was really good because I really wanted to try it because I'd heard from like whoever was playing it at the time, or previewers maybe that it was actually like pretty decent.
Mhm.
So I was kind of good at that. I didn't get to play it, and then obviously it sort of released, and just not a lot of people were playing it. So I was like, well, I don't want to, you know, buy this game only for not enough people to play it, and then it eventually be impossible to play. I was not expecting it to only take a week or whatever for that to happen.
It was a fun fortnight playing that
2
game.
weeks. Can you still play the physical version?
You cannot know.
Oh, so what
It
happens
is
when you
a,
put
it
it
is
in?
a paperweight now. I think it does. I think it might still
Load
bring
up.
up the little icon on your dashboard,
Really?
but it won't install if I remember
Oh
correctly.
wow. Okay. I was ready to put it in B.
Yeah, it does have to go at the
It
end of
kind of
F, I think.
does.
It does. But
Oh,
quality
that's
wise, if you're
sad.
looking at these games, it's bottom of B.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it there. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we can't have that. We can't be can't be recommending that.
Go buy it now,
Go.
everyone.
There's never been a better time to jump into Concord. Okay, next up, from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs, Astrobot.
Yeah.
Tell us about Astrobot.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for 1,000 Times Resist, Astrobot would have been my game of the year last year.
Okay.
What can you say, man? I mean, people got very angry that it won Game of the Year at Game Awards, and I think that anybody that got angry either was just console warring or hadn't played it, or both. I've
Yeah.
never played a game that's made me feel more just joy.
Mm.
Like it's just joy incarnate. And I think that is detached from the PlayStation nostalgia stuff. I think just as a platformer without the PlayStation stuff, it is incredibly joyous and inventive. And I think that's the hallmark of a great game like this, especially platformers, where they are just constantly introducing you to new mechanics throughout the game and none of them linger for too long.
Mm.
I think it's got the perfect runtime. It dabbled just enough a little bit in story where they didn't overstep and try to make it this narrative thing, but there is just a teeny bit of a narrative if you want it.
Yeah. The right at the
Music is
end.
goated.
Yeah.
I think it's. I already was, but I think on the mainstream, it's made Team Asobi potentially one of the most exciting studios at PlayStation,
Absolutely.
and not just for what they can make going forwards, but I think what a game like Astrobot being greenlit and
Mm.
releasing and getting all of this acclaim and selling pretty well, what that could mean for PlayStation as a whole moving forwards.
Mm.
Maybe it does reinvigorate the idea that not every game has to be this high fidelity AAA blockbuster that lasts 30, 40 hours. Get back in your weird era a little bit, Sony. Just let your teams dabble a bit. And you say about the God of War spin-off, and you even have precedent with something like Miles Morales that's a spin-off of a bigger series.
Mm.
Do more of that.
Yeah.
And I think Astrobot is potentially the biggest green light we've seen for maybe that initiative coming into play at Sony again, which is exciting because that reminds me of PS2, an early PS3 era Sony. So I think it's a very easy S. Again, if we're talking about this list being things we would recommend to people, I think Astrobot potentially above any other game
Mm.
is the first thing I could just recommend to anyone.
Yeah.
And the PlayStation nostalgia, if you're invested in the ecosystem and have been for some time, that's the icing on the top.
Yeah.
So
I'm so with you for a start. I'd still recommend Playroom first in a weird way. Like if you're gonna play Astrobot,
sure,
play Playroom first because like that is such a good introduction to everything in the PS5. But yeah, it's an absolute S. It was number 3 on my Game of the Year list actually. I've spoken this briefly. My top two were sort of joint, but it was 1,000 Times Resist and Animal Well, which neither of which were nominated,
we
which
have a
wasn't
top
surprising.
three. It's the same top three, just in different
There
orders.
you go.
So
Towards your Astrobot, 1,000 Times Resist. No,
I had
1,000 Times
1,000
Resist,
Astrobot,
Astrobot.
then Animal Well.
Yeah, but yeah, I was happy it won. It wasn't really surprising. Every year on the Game Awards, well, I say every year, starting from last year, but I'm gonna do it every year. I put a bet on the winner, or who I
Mm.
think is going to win. But this last year I put it on two. I put £10 on no £5 on Astrobot and £5 on Balatro to win. Bellatrix was like really good odds, like really low odds, but I had convinced myself that it was going to win because yeah, I love that game as well. That would have been my number 4. But yeah, Astrobot itself, incredible platformer, PlayStation nostalgia, great, but like you say, doesn't carry it by any means. Just a good enhancement to it. Yeah, I'm with you. It's an S tier. And would I put it number 1?
I think I would.
I think I might as well. Yeah, we'll put it there for now. We'll put it there for now.
I mean, they're all among goats at the top, right?
Yeah, this is a
Like you're in good
good.
company.
This is
So
a good top 4. It's looking good so far. We've got 2 left though. 2 left.
yes,
Next up, we have Lego Horizon Adventure. I've not played this
Yeah,
game. You say you have. Tell me
I
about it.
have. I'm a big Lego game guy. I have a lot of Lego sets lying around, including the Lego Horizon sets that they've released. Got a Tallneck over there,
Oh, I've got
and
that.
the
I've got that as well. No, of
yes,
course you've got that as well.
one of the best Lego sets ever, in my
I've
opinion.
not
How
built it
sleek
yet.
that thing looks.
Yeah.
So you would think it's like a no-brainer, and it is a no-brainer. But it would also you'd also think it would be a slam dunk, and unfortunately, it just kind of isn't.
Mm.
I think the thing that really knocks it down for me, and this is going to be a bit in the weeds if you don't know Lego games, but if this was a traditional Lego game,
Mm.
it would have been so much better, in my opinion.
Really?
If it was a retelling of just a straight retelling, but in Lego form of
Mm.
Zero Dawn, and maybe even if they added in Forbidden West, and you had sets of levels, and you did the usual collectathon, 100% the levels, and get all the characters and all of this. I think that would have worked a lot better. They kind of made it a bit more of a extremely linear, light
Mm.
RPG game focused on co-op,
Mm.
and that seems like a very weird choice because the Lego format for games hasn't changed all that much, and it's continued to be very successful.
Mm.
So I don't know why they felt the need to deviate in terms of style and genre here, but they did. And it's not bad, but whilst I was playing it, I was kind of looking forward to it being over. And it's another
Uh,
one of the games that as much as I love Horizon, which we both do,
yeah.
I won't. And I love Lego games. I'm not ever going to play this again.
Mm.
So if I had to place it somewhere, I think it's honestly, I think it's bottom of B.
Mm. That sounds right to me. I felt like I say, like we said, I'm a big Horizon fan. I felt nothing when this was announced because I think it had been rumored as well. So when this was revealed, um, I just felt nothing about it. I have played Lego games in the past and enjoyed them. I did not completely vibe with the last Lego game I played, which was The Force Awakens. No, not The Force
Mm.
Awakens. The Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Yeah, which obviously I think is it's pretty cool that it's like all sort of 9 films in one. But I just did for some reason I didn't vibe with that as much as I thought I would because I loved the old Lego Star Wars games and a
Hmm.
lot of the others Lego Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
Lego Batman. They were great. But then when this was announced, I sort of understand like Horizon is their most family friendly, Sony's most family friendly IP, or at least it was, that they could sort of turn into a Lego game. But obviously, you've got robot dinosaurs, right? And kids love robots, and kids love dinosaurs. So, like, yeah, I guess that makes sense on a surface level thing. But that story does not. When if I put my mind back to when I was a kid, that story does not grab me in the way that Star Wars does. I don't know. I don't know. I see what they were going for. I really like the art style of it. I think it's really cool.
Hmm.
Um, Again, I've not played it, so I can't speak to how it plays, but it is something I'm curious about, and maybe I'll try it at some point. Maybe I'll get it on the Switch. That'll be weird.
Yeah, I could see that being a better Switch game, to be honest.
Yeah, and I do quite like that. He said that they had a more of a focus on co-op. I do quite like that. I do think more. I wish more games would focus on that co-op thing. Um, but yeah, if it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit.
Yeah.
Bottom of B it goes. Right, we're on to our last game, everybody. It's a big one. It's a big one. It's very relevant. Tell us about Death Stranding 2, Sam.
I mean, I opened the show talking about it.
You
I
did.
think it's, as someone who truly adores Death Stranding 1, I think it's just demonstrably better in pretty much every aspect. Obviously, holding my right to change my opinion based on how the story concludes.
Mm.
I think I'm maybe like 2/3 of the way through.
Okay.
It's hard to tell because I'm not looking up how many chapters there are,
Yeah.
but I'm on chapter 10.
Mm.
So I feel like I'm in the second half
Yeah.
and things feel like they're picking up. So if the first game is any indication, I should probably be done within the next week, I would say, certainly.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, man. I think for as divisive as the first game was, this game commits to that vision a lot more, which I respect.
Mm.
But it also simultaneously makes it so much easier to get into the loop of everything, get into the gameplay loop, get into the story, get into the action. The first game takes a long time to sort of kick into gear.
Yeah.
And I think that turned a lot of people off because it's a very slow start.
Yeah.
And it's quite arduous and you don't have a lot of tools at your disposal. Whereas Death Stranding 2, you have a gun and a vehicle pretty much immediately. And Kojima, whilst he again remains committed to what this game wants to be, I think he has made a substantial amount of very minimal but very pivotal adjustments and tweaks and refinements that just make this game not just better, because inevitably you want that from a sequel, but I think I do think that Death Stranding 1 is like close to perfect, as close as you can get. But Death Stranding 2 is, I guess, by that definition, perfect in terms of game design. I don't want to glaze Kojima because so many people do that, but it's just like
Glaze away.
It's fact, man. Like his writing is a bit shoddy, yeah.
Dialogue, yeah.
But his direction and his vision and his ideas, as absurd as they are, if you just sort of accept it and you let the experience wash over you in the same way that Death Stranding 1, I would say the same thing. There really just isn't anything like it. And in the same way I would have said it about Death Stranding 1, for Kojima and Sony to have committed to this, funded it, seen it through, and now made a sequel that is just in every aspect better. It's a dream scenario, really. So it's an S, I think. I think it's an S.
I completely agree that it's an S, actually. Again, I'm only 1 to 2 hours into the game, so I'm very, very early on. But even just so far, obviously visually, it's genuinely mind-blowing, the stuff that you're seeing on screen. And yeah, quality of life wise, weird. There's such like small differences, but quality of life wise, that adds up so much. I can't remember quite what they were. I was talking about it on my stream. There's one thing when you're adjusting cargo. You can do it just from the quick menu on the D-pad. Amazing. You don't have to like tap everything and then hold X anymore. You just press X and it's done. You just back out and it's done. The biggest thing for me that puts it above Death Stranding 1 so far. Again, I'm early, so we'll see if it continues. It feels a lot. It feels like it has a lot more heart in it straight away. No spoilers for Death Stranding 1 or 2, but the beginning of Death Stranding 2 specifically is probably more without dialogue as well. It gives you more of Sam's character than, at least for me, the whole of the first game did. And that might be a bit drastic to say, but I think what the start of Death Stranding 2 is setting up, I cannot wait to play, and I cannot wait to see what happens. S tier, I'm with you. Where though?
That's where it gets interesting, because personally for me, I would probably put it above Forbidden West.
Okay.
But in general, if we're crafting this for the audience, I would say it probably.
I really hear you. Let's see how that looks.
How does that look?
How does
Yeah,
that look for audio listeners?
we're
This
just sort
this
of
will be a
sliding
weird
it around, seeing
sliding
what
it
it
around
really
us
looks
too.
like. I
But
think objectively, I would have to, as much as it would pain me personally, I think I would put it below Ragnarok.
okay.
And that is exclusively through the lens of what I would find easiest to recommend people. I think that Death Stranding 2 is a
Yeah.
incredibly easy recommend, but I would need some prerequisite information from the person I'm talking to, and I'd also have to give them a lot of information about it
Yeah.
before they dove in. God
Yeah.
of War, Horizon, Astrobot to me are like no-brainers pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I'm happy with that. We've put it there for everyone listening. We've put Death Stranding 2 in between God of War Ragnarok and Helldivers 2. It's at number
yeah.
4 on our list. And there we actually have our first draft of the list. I am aware we've gone on quite a while, Sam. Are you okay for time?
Of course.
Okay. In that case, we do have the reshuffle. So what I've said to Sam earlier on, we can now move up to 3 games, up to a total of 4 spaces. So, for example, if Sam wanted to move Astrobot 4 spaces down, he could do that. Or if he wanted to move Astrobot 3 spaces down, he could do that, and then also move Horizon Forbidden West 1 space up, for example. Although actually no, he couldn't because that would automatically go up. Let me try that again. If Sam wanted to move Astrobot 3 spaces down, he could do that, but then he'd also be able to move Rise of the Ronin 1 space up as well. Hopefully you understand that. If not, oh well. So, Sam, do you have any ideas on what you want to move? In fact, actually, we need to flip a coin. Flip a coin to see who's going first. So, Sam, heads or tails?
Heads.
It's heads. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
You go first. Good. Gives me time to think.
So I think everything A minus down, I think I'm happy with. I think that is probably the correct slots for all of those games.
Yeah.
It's the S and A plus. So I am going to ask a question definitively now.
Yeah, yeah. Go
Because
on.
we've been not super fast and loose, but a little bit flexible.
Yes.
Do we want this list to be more tuned towards what we would recommend people listening, or are we now getting into the Duffy of personal taste?
I think we should go a little bit towards personal taste. I think
Okay.
let's mix it up a little bit. So if you
Okay.
so like if you really liked Horizon Adventures, feel free to move that shit up to to A minus.
That's exactly what I want to do. Okay. In that case, so what we can probably say then,
Yeah, go on.
with that caveat, is that the list as it stands is how we would probably recommend to the people listening.
Yeah, it
So
probably
you can look
is.
at this list,
I
and this
guess
is sort of
so.
rough approximations of what we would recommend,
Yeah.
most to least.
Yeah, I guess for any viewers that have got this far and like this list, but don't want to hear our personal opinions, take that list as it is.
In that case, with a maximum of 4 moves, I would. So I get 4 and you get 4.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good. I didn't want to steal all the moves. I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, you could.
I am in that case going to bump Death Stranding up 2
Yeah.
to above Forbidden West,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to do the same for Returnal.
Oh, of course.
So it
Okay.
goes above. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what my four moves are.
Interesting. It'd be so funny if I just moved it that by down four
Correct.
spaces. Oh, I'm so tempted. No, let me think. What have we got? Okay, Astrobot, Destiny 2.
See, this is technically the benefit of going second, because now you can fine tune.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
upended things, but now
You've
you
upended
can
things.
tweak.
Yeah, I do respect Returnal being so high because like it is very unique and it's a very unique experience. And I kind of would, but,
Bye.
and I do kind of think I'd recommend it over God of War Ragnarok as well. And maybe on on personal taste, I would put Ragnarok above Returnal. But this is a toughie. Just off the top of my head, I like the idea of having 5 in S. This is not me saying this to not Returnal down. I like the idea of having 5 in S tier. But they all do probably belong in S tier.
Don't talk yourself out of something, Sam.
No,
if you
I'm
want to be
not.
ruthless, you be ruthless.
I'm trying to think because I'm kind of happy with this now. Because with Miles Morales, I love that game and I would really recommend that game. But it was on
You can bump
PS4,
it.
but it was on PS4 as well. Like
But okay, but what if you're from the perspective of someone who didn't have a
who
PS4
didn't have a
and now has a PS5?
PS4? Yeah.
It's essentially by de facto a PS5 only game at that point.
I'm happy with the top 3. 100%.
I wonder which one of the top row you aren't happy with.
But then also like this is such a personal thing. Like I know Ragnarok is an amazing game. But for me, like I kind of want to put Helldivers above it. I kind of want to put Helldivers above Ragnarok.
He's done it.
I think
I'm not upset with that move. For what it's worth.
that's my first move. So that's 1 down, 3 to go. This is a tough game. Whose idea was this? I'm going to put Miles Morales above Astro's Playroom.
Okay.
But I don't feel good about it. And that's 2 moves. And then I'm going to... This feels mean because I've not played Stellar Blade yet. But I'm gonna put Demon Souls above Stellar Blade, and then I think we're done. I know I've only done 3 spaces, but
he's gonna give the last move
I will,
to you, the listeners.
Yes, to all you listening,
you can change one thing.
If you could change one thing in this list, comment down below what you change. They're all going to say Returnal belongs in F, I'm sure.
Damn it.
But I think we're done. I think we have our list, everybody.
Amazing.
So I will read it all out for our audio listeners. We have, I'll go from down to top. Concord at the bottom. Sorry, Concord, you were fun apparently, but we can't play you anymore, so what do you want us to do? Concord at the bottom, number 19, I think. Then we have Destruction All-Stars. Not much to say about that. No. That's our F tier. Going up to B tier, number 17, Lego Horizon Adventure. Again, not much to say about that.
No.
Belongs there. Going above that, we have Rise of the Ronin.
Style over substance.
Style over substance. Love that. That was number 16. Number 15, we have Sackboy, A Big Adventure.
Astrobot exists.
Astrobot exists. Number 14, Gran Turismo 7. We don't drive in games.
No.
We don't play those
Who does
games.
that?
Who does that? Number 13, in A-, we have Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I need to finish that. Sorry.
I believe you will.
Number 12, we have The Last of Us Part 1 remake. Undoubtedly a 10 out of 10 game. but it's at number 12 on our list. Number 11 in our A plus tier, Astro's Playroom. It's free. It's pre-installed on the PS5. Play it if you haven't already.
Amen.
Number 10, we have Spider-Man Miles Morales. Some would say the best of the Spider-Man trilogy.
Some would say. Yeah.
Sam would say. That's good. Yeah, number 9, Stellar Blade.
I wish it was less not safe for work.
Yes. Number 8, we have Demon Souls. The best place to start with any Souls game, I think.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely right.
With the Souls series. Number 7, top of our A plus tier, we have Spider-Man 2. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. 16 inches of venom. Number 6, going into our S tier. Number 6, we have God of War Ragnarok. Anything to say about God of War Ragnarok, Sam?
Cemented Kratos as an all-timer.
He is an all-timer. Do not be sorry. Be better. Number 5, we have Helldivers 2. Maybe the best multiplayer game ever. Yeah, who would have thought it? Number 4, we have Returnal. Way too high, if you ask me.
We can have wrong opinions. That's fine, Sam.
I respect it. Number 3, we have Horizon Forbidden West. Don't mainline the story if you're playing that game. Yeah. Number 2, we have Death Stranding 2. Sam?
Got to glaze Kojima. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To be done.
Glaze him. Cheers, Kojima. And number 1.
He Kojimed all over the place.
At number 1, the top of our S tier, the top of our list. The number 1 game to play if you have a PS5. You've just bought a PS5. What do I play? Play Astrobot. You'll have an amazing time.
Games are fun.
Games are fun,
Astrobot
everyone.
Is the most fun.
So right. You're so right. And that's our list, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this rambly, messy episode. That will be it for this episode of the Hall of Games podcast. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/SamHallOfGames, or click the Discord link in the episode description to join a growing community of gamers. Where can they find you, Sam?
Anywhere and everywhere at Sam Heaney. That's Heaney, and at Save the Game Media on YouTube.
Yep, Save the Game Media. Go check them out. You can find me pretty much everywhere at Sam Hall of Games, including over on YouTube, where I'm currently live streaming my Death Stranding 2 playthrough, so please go and watch that. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time on the Hall of Games podcast. Bye.
Peace.